never guess the places that I've been. You never guess the places that I've been. 'Cause everything is like a dream, yeah, but only in that dream that I live in. I'm never gonna let the day begin. Never gonna let the day begin. 'Cause everything is like a dream, yeah, but only in that dream that I live in. Oh, don't wake me up before you go, and I'll just make this bed my home. Oh, darling, please just let me sleep. Give me my dreams. Better from above. Nothing's ever as it seems, yeah, except in that world that I dream of. Never gonna lose the ones I love. Never gonna lose the ones I love. 'Cause everything is like a dream, yeah, but only in that world that I dream of. Oh, don't wake me up before you go, 'cause I can't face this day alone. Oh, darling, please just let me sleep. Give me my dreams. Give me my dreams. Give me my dreams.
And we really got a long, long way to go. How will we stay awake? Well, thanks to Chris, for goodness sake. We got Steve Sommers on the radio. Got that hot shot secret and the diesel. You know, it really makes this Detroit come to life. We're gonna hear from all our friends. We're gonna do it all again on this overnight drive. How about you, Big Ed? Are you with me? Break 1-9 for that Carolina monkey gouger. Negatory there, hillbilly. You clean clear to Blacktown. Let her roll. Well, we all tune in to catch the weather, whether rain or sleet or even snow. And it don't matter if you're in New York or Dallas. You'll catch it all on the Steve Sommers Show. We got that hot shot secret and the diesel. You know, it really makes that Detroit come to life. We're gonna hear from all our friends. We're gonna do it all again on this overnight drive. Yeah, we're gonna hear from all our friends. We're gonna do it all again on this overnight drive.
Party started. And we close out another day. Close out a Tuesday in the Eastern Time Zone. We will work our way into a Wednesday with a full 5 hours ahead of us here. Big show, right? Welcome in. It's another edition of the Steve Sommers Overnight Drive. OvernightDriveRadio.com. On your smartphone, iPhone, Android, on the web, all the streaming devices. TNCradio.live with us. And yes, $1,000 daily driver bonus giveaway continues. You'll get 2 keywords as we progress through the late night, early morning hours. Much quieter night tonight in the Northeast, whereas you were getting buried 24 hours ago. There's still some snow falling in parts of New York, and even a few scattered snow showers there in northern portions of Pennsylvania tonight. But the big ugly storm is pretty much over. They're actually talking some lake effect snows, believe it or not, in the western portions of New York. But another cold night in the offing with freeze warnings and frost advisories extending all the way into northern South Carolina tonight. Frost advisories for pretty much nearly the northern half of South Carolina, all of North Carolina. You get freeze warnings over northern North Carolina, much of Virginia, on over into West Virginia, southern Ohio, eastern Kentucky. Come on, old man winter, give it up already. I'm looking at 44 degrees outside the secret bunker at this hour. But what a mess it was 24 hours ago. I had seen some of the footage from the Weather Service office out of Binghamton, New York. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, the snow, those big, fat, sticky snowflakes piling up. Well, when all was said and done, this winter storm unloaded up to 18 inches of snow in parts of the interior Northeast. Yep, we set a new April snowfall record in Pennsylvania as well as upstate New York. Elsewhere, the system unleashing heavy rains, flooding, and at least 1 fatality to be blamed on the stormy weather. Maryland's capital of Annapolis, 1 death blamed on the wet, windy weather. According to WBAL, 1 man was found dead, 3 others injured after a tree collapsed on a home Monday night. In New York City, the heavy rain causing all southbound lanes of the major Deegan Expressway to close during Tuesday's morning commute. That was due to flooding there. Northbound lanes of the highway were passable, but still covered in water. According to the local ABC affiliate, many vehicles stranded on the highway. At least 1 car had to be towed. Once the rain finally stopped, the water did begin to recede. All lanes were reopened about 9 o'clock this past morning. But other low-lying areas in New Jersey and Connecticut also experienced flooding. Get a load of some of these snowfall totals. The highest snowfall totals came out of central New York near the Catskill Mountain Range and northern Pennsylvania. As of about 10 a.m. this past morning, 18 inches of snow reported in Virgil, New York. It's about 125 miles west of the capital of Albany. About 150 miles northeast of Virgil is Bleecker, New York, where also 18 inches of snow was reported. Highest numbers out of Pennsylvania was just south of the New York border in New Milford, where 16 inches was on the ground. Hyde Park, Vermont, just south of the Canadian border, 8.5 inches. Even Riverton, West Virginia, northeast of the capital of Charleston, picked up 8 inches of snow. At Penn State University's University Park campus, just over 3 inches of snow measured there. That's the latest snow of 1 inch or more since 1993. Obviously, a lot of people taking to social media, posting photographs, their shock and dismay waking up to so much snow at this stage in April. We're more than halfway through the month here. 2 days ago, it was near 80 degrees, said one Maryland resident. Today, it's snowing. You gotta love the weather in Maryland. Elsewhere, gusty winds accompanying this late April storm. 67 miles per hour wind clocked at Mystic Island, New Jersey, according to the National Weather Service there. Some of the other top wind gusts Monday evening into Tuesday. North Cape May, New Jersey, 66 mile an hour. 65 in Atlantic City, New Jersey, 64 miles per hour. in Lewes, Delaware, as well as Nantucket, Massachusetts, with the combination of the heavy, sticky snow and the winds. At one point, more than 310,000 power outages in the Northeast. New York, more than 196,000 customers without power Tuesday morning. In Pennsylvania, still more than 52,000 were without power. Maine and Vermont were both also reporting more than 50,000 power outages combined. Now, even through the overnight hours tonight, another chilly night, there are still thousands, tens of thousands, without power. The line crews are out there working around the clock. They tell us they'll be working through the night. The National Weather Service office in Norton, Massachusetts, actually lost power about 12:30 a.m. local time, resulting in the radar being shut down during the peak of the storm for that area. It was just before 4 a.m. the power was restored, radar becoming operational again. The odd timing of the snowstorm impacting the spring's signature sport, Progressive Field, home to Major League Baseball's Cleveland Guardians franchise, actually had a coating of snow Monday morning. Yeah, that was the impetus for the Guardians to postpone their scheduled Monday contest with the Chicago White Sox, rescheduling the April game. That'll be played sometime in July. The other Chicago squad, the Cubs, saw the iconic Wrigley Field also hit with snow about 90 minutes before a game with the Tampa Bay Rays. That game was not postponed, but leading to the house organ instrument playing a rendition of Let It Snow, Let It Snow. The cold, snowy weather across the Northeast fades away to more seasonable warmth. As we head down the second half of the week here, most of that snow is going to melt away. And again, folks will want to put away their shovels. Some are thinking maybe for the final time this season, but then again, maybe not for some. Talking about the power outages. Yeah, here's some of the numbers. Hundreds of thousands without power this past day. This storm wreaking havoc over 11 New York counties from the southern tip to the North Country, according to the governor. She said, I do want to acknowledge this was a very serious event, resulting in dramatic amounts of families, homes, businesses, at least temporarily displaced, dealing with the lack of power. Now, as many as 350,000 without power at the height of the storm. As of this past midday, 200,000 had power restored, but that still left 150,000 in the dark. The hope is crews will restore power to all within the next 3 days. According to the website Power Outage US, about 160,000 homes and businesses in New York were still in the dark as of 8:30, just a few hours ago. More than 36,000 still out in Pennsylvania. Most of the affected customers in New England had their power restored by this past evening as the winds indeed quieted down. But yeah, windy system, and the heavy, wet, clinging nature of that storm brought down lots of trees and power lines. Now, coming up later this week, again, we'll be talking about a large, multifaceted storm system, which will again potentially bring, just very reminiscent, almost like deja vu from last week, we could be talking blizzard conditions again in the north central portions of the country, and yet another severe weather outbreak potentially in the offing further to the south. Yeah, that particular storm system will be coming ashore later today off the Pacific, all the way out in California, bringing some much-needed rainfall before crossing the Rockies, strengthening in the nation's midsection. We'll break down some of the forecast models with that particular system coming up just ahead here. Meanwhile, there's a bit of a break in the weather pattern for those snow and cold-weary folks out there. For the Midwest to the Central Appalachians, the Mid-Atlantic and New England for the next several days, but you may not want to take the snow brush out of the car just yet. That same system that's going to bring potentially more severe weather to the central states may again bring another shot of snow, possibly, to parts of the Northeast. It's just a crazy up and down roller coaster ride, compliments of Mother Nature. Hey, Mike, are we still doing this thing? Well, yes, Horse Feathers. He's joining us on YouTube there. Heavy D on board. Hello, Stephen, the overnight drive crew. Stay safe, everybody. Keep trucking out there. There's Richard from Central Florida with 61 degrees at this hour. Canadian friend Terry in Little Rock, Arkansas tonight, 61 at this hour. Down with Putin, he says. Hello to Zorro. Happy hump day. Joe on board. Morning, Steve, and all the overnight drive crew. As Horsefeather says, hey, Mike. There's Gerald on board. Chris Coons, Democrat senator from Delaware, said we need to send U.S. troops into Ukraine. Yeah, we had touched on that during last night's program. In essence, what he was saying is, how did he put it? We need to send a message to Putin that we need to be at least holding discussions as far as are we going to draw a line in the sand in the event that Putin were, say, to use chemical weapons? If that were to occur, would that be enough to prompt us to actually become involved? What about possibly a tactical nuclear device, which there have been rumors and rumblings for weeks of that possibility? Nobody wants to think of that, but all right. Good afternoon. Hammer down out there. There's Larry on board. Hello, Pappy. 40 degrees in Harrison, calling for a high of 65 Wednesday. And they're saying maybe 80 by the weekend. All right, that answers the question. I said, when the heck is it going to start warming up again? So 65 later today, I'll take that. Everybody stay safe out there and hammer down. Copy in the mail, Chevy Guy on board. There's Lauren Weiss, two-time world champion bull hauler. 52 degrees, a starlit sky in Taylorsville, North Carolina. Shout out to the Hall of Famer, the Carolina Monkey Gouger, from the Sugarloaf Stock Pens tonight. There's Kentucky Ken, morning overnight drive crew. Steve Sommers still working my way out of Wisconsin. On my way to Terre Haute, then on to Louisville. Safe travels. Kentucky Ken is listening in this morning. There's Nelson from North Carolina on board. Good to have you with us. Miss Millie joins us. Morning, Steve, and all the crew. 39, kind of cold here in Foster, Kentucky. But looking forward to another great show. Everybody be safe. There's Wally, always late. Good morning, Steve, and the overnight drive community. Bidu checking in this morning. Good to have you with us. There's Tony. Morning, Steve, from South Central Nebraska. 49 degrees and still windy, or windy again. Hope everybody has a great morning. Keep it shiny side up out there. Hello to Deborah. Morning, Steve. Looking forward to some warmer temperatures finally this week. Hoping my driver, along with all the others out there, stay safe tonight. There's Steve. Good morning from Lamar's. 41 degrees this morning. Buckeye Boy. Checking in from Paducah, Kentucky on I-24 West. 49 degrees. Had a few sprinkles earlier. Otherwise, not a bad night. Last night, you were talking about sending a signal into space, the Beacon Project. Remember the movie called Battleship? It was actually about that exact sort of scenario. Anyway, Braves are winning against the Dodgers in L.A. right now. I'll be flipping back and forth, I guess, till after the game. Have a great night, everybody. Be careful out there, and happy hump day. Yeah, while your Braves are winning against the Dodgers, the Reds are losing once again against the Padres. I don't believe the Reds have won a game since that opening series in Atlanta, where the Reds kicked off their season on the road for the first time in decades. But they split that series, 2 games apiece. And if I'm not mistaken, they have lost every game since then. Worst record in Major League Baseball right now. How about them Reds? Our number, 844-844-3388. Welcome aboard the Steve Sommers Overnight Drive, live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios.
You're listening to the Overnight Drive with Steve Sommers.
After a long winter road trip, there's nothing like coming home to a warm, comfortable home. Hi, I'm Steve with USA Insulation. We appreciate our truckers and the long hours you're putting in to serve us all. Without you, we wouldn't even get the materials to insulate. So we want you to feel like a king when you get back. We put our foam in your walls. It's like putting a coat around your entire home. Keeps the cold air out and the warm air in. And with the rising energy costs, that's going to save you a bundle. We're getting homes ready for winter right now, and we have $1,000 of savings for everyone. But because we love our truckers, we're going to give you an additional $250 discount just for mentioning this show. So give us a call, 1-800-USA-FOAM. That's 1-800-USA-FOAM or usainsulation.net. We're going to give you an additional $250 discount for mentioning the show. 1-800-USA-FOAM or usainsulation.net.
USA Insulation.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret.
Powered by science.
My daughter Brinley is here at St. Jude. Coming here was literally life or death, and it was so scary. But St. Jude is fighting for one goal, like this one mission, life. And that gave us hope. We haven't received a single bill from St. Jude, so I really can just focus on what's best for Brinley.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
And now, back to the Steve Sommers Overnight Drive, live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios.
So it looks like one of the many of thousands without power tonight. It's one of our listening friends. They're in New York. Hello, Steve, from a very dark central New York. Yeah, they're telling us we may not have power for a couple of days. That's our friend the Lawnmower Man in New York. Find a way to stay warm there, Lawnmower Man. That really sucks. Hello to Billy the Kid. I got an email from Billy. Steve at hotshotsecret.com, by the way, is the email. Hello, Steve, and all the radio family. Just wanted to say hello, touch base. I'm still running days right now, but I have been listening to the podcast religiously. Earlier today, I stopped into a truck stop outside Toledo, Ohio. Lo and behold, there was a stack of Blatz beer cases. I literally laughed out loud. The cashier asked me what's so funny, and I had to tell him about our big Blatz beer guzzling buddy from Troy and how I didn't think the stuff actually existed outside of Moose's house. Anyway, I was convinced they just brewed small batches to keep him from going Marv Haymeyer on Milwaukee. Sitting at the stop tonight, or the shop rather. I got to get afternoon maintenance done. First thing tomorrow, a PM. That would be PM maintenance. Then me and the Big Orange will be good to go. Prayers for Gilligan and his family, and we're still keeping Pappy in our prayers as well. Hope you have a great show. Everybody be safe out there. 1042 in Timbuktu from Billy the Kid. All right, well, good to hear from you. Hope things are going well during your daytime driving there. Meanwhile, it's 844-844-3388. The pain at the pump continues as the national average for gasoline is still more than $4 per gallon. Yeah, diesel, we actually had the latest numbers from the Energy Information Administration on Monday. National average for diesel is still over $5 a gallon. It's $5.10. It's actually up from a week ago. National average $1.97 a gallon higher than this time 1 year ago. But one Tennessee customer got a huge discount, filling up his tank for $5.64 due to a mistake at the pump at a station in Chattanooga. One of the pumps I stopped and got premium for my wife's car. I wasn't really looking at the price because I didn't want to. Anyway, I went to hang it up and I realized I had pumped 12 gallons and it was, just over $5. At that moment, he realized there was a mistake at the pump. He did go to tell the owner right away. So he didn't lose even more money in sales that day for the owner. Once I showed him on my phone and he printed the receipt, you could see the color just drain out of his face. He was obviously pretty upset. Now, I said, I know from being a small business owner myself that it's hard to make up for days when a simple mistake like this one is made. Now, the owner said 1 to 2 hours of this could cost him $2,000. I was hoping people would kind of recognize this is a small business owner. Every little thing impacts your bottom line. And he may have made a mistake. But if that had gone on for 5 or 6 hours without his knowing, that's huge. After speaking to the owner, though, he could tell he was devastated because it was a busy day at the pumps. At 45 cents a gallon, that's what the pump was charging, 45 cents a gallon. That barely covers the cost of federal and state gas tax. So he was basically giving fuel away for free. And it took a little while for somebody to stop and tell him. Well, so he did take to social media, posted his receipts and his frustration with people who took advantage of this gas station. You can only imagine people that had pulled in, filled up, and got that super deal, and called some friends, say, hey, dude, come out here, come get up here. Fill it up for 45 cents a gallon, man. This is great. Well, it's just big oil. Anyway, ultimately, the owner thanked him for coming forward, and a woman in line told him that was sweet of you to do the right thing. All right. Doesn't say how much fuel was actually pumped for the hours that the pump price was at 45 cents. Guessing it was probably supposed to be at what, 345, 445, somewhere in that vicinity. They missed that first number, a.k.a. the dollars. But again, back to your diesel prices. According to the Monday report, the national average again now at $5.10 per gallon. There was a 5-cent increase in the Rocky Mountain region, the biggest jump in prices over the past week. The Central Atlantic saw an increase 4.4 cents. West Coast reported an increase of 4.2 cents. With this latest report, there are only 2 regions in the country with an average price of diesel below $5 per gallon. Where would that be? All right, the Midwest is averaging $4.92. The Gulf Coast region averaging $4.85 per gallon. All other areas above $5. Of course, there's our friends in California. Average price in California, $6.25 per gallon. All right, the pain at the pump continues. Here, let me see. That's from, I believe the Lawnmower Man forwarded this to me. During a presentation to municipal officials about 1:30 this past afternoon, still ongoing. In New York, they're reporting it could be 72 hours or more before the power is fully restored there. They are currently in what they call make safe mode and expect to start power restoration later today, beginning to make arrangements for distribution of dry ice and bottled water. Otsego County has 31 life-sustaining equipment customers and 71 critical care facility customers. They said they've been in contact with each of them. They've notified emergency services and law enforcement if any of these customers cannot be reached. But they're advising folks, stay home. There are over 300 New York power lines that are energized and on the ground. There's potential for other lines, such as phone lines or cable, also to be energized. Stay away from downed lines. So that's downright scary. So I guess it was the weight of the snow, right? That heavy, wet snow dragging the lines down. So many of them actually coming down, yet still energized, which could make for a deadly scenario. Some of those snowfall total numbers: Virgil, New York, yes, 18 inches. It was also 18 in Bleecker, New York. Erieville, New York, 16.3. New Milford, PA, picked up 16 inches. Caroga Lake, New York, 15 inches of snow when all was said and done. On down into Pennsylvania, I believe that was the one closer to the New York line. LaPorte, PA, ultimately picked up 14 inches of snowfall. And with the heavy, wet nature of the snow, that's what you call the heart attack shoveling snow for folks that got out this past morning. All right, coming up, we'll get some of our industry headlines and, of course, to your calls, what's on your mind as we head into Hump Day. Our number, as always, is 844-844-3388. 844-844-3388. We get a news break and return after this. The Steve Sommers Overnight Drive live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios.
USA Radio News.
Ukrainian officials said this week that roughly 1/3 of its infrastructure has been demolished by Russia's invading forces. The infrastructure minister said $100 billion in damage has been inflicted on the nation's infrastructure, but added that the bill could run as high as $500 billion when everything from homes to roads has been tallied up. The Justice Department says it will not appeal a federal district judge's ruling that ended the nation's federal mask mandate on public transit. However, it said it will defer to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. On Monday, a judge in Florida ended the sweeping mandate. A Justice Department spokesman called the federal mask order, quote, a valid exercise of the authority Congress has given the CDC to protect the public health, unquote. You're listening to USA Radio News.
The MyPillow.com clearance continues. Roll and go anywhere. MyPillow's $9.99. The Body Pillow $39.99. And MyPillow bath sheets on sale 50% off. Use my promo code USA. Go to MyPillow.com/radio specials. You'll also get a free copy of Mike Lindell's book. MyPillow.com/radio specials. Use promo code USA or 1-800-951-8175. You clean everything else in your house. Why don't you clean the air? It's easy to do with an Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier. They're under $200 for a 3-pack. You can put one in the kitchen. You can put one in the living room. You can put one in that room that you always flush. Go to EdenPureDeals.com. Put in my promo code Classic3 and you'll save $200. EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code Classic3 and you'll also get free shipping.
You're listening to the Overnight Drive with Steve Sommers.
Drivers, you demand that your equipment's reliable and dependable, and that also applies to your headset for communication. Well, our friends at Stellar Electronic have you covered. The Pluto Duo headset bundle is the best communication headset you can find in the industry. No matter the challenging environment you're driving in, the Pluto headset will make you sound crystal clear all the time thanks to their 99% noise cancellation. And the Duo's not only a stereo converter for the headset, but also a power bank so you can charge as you go. Learn more at StellarElectronic.com or visit them on Facebook.
Do you have a Dodge pickup and hate your automatic transmission? Of course you do. LaVon Miller at Firepunk Diesel here, and we specialize in heavy-duty and performance transmissions for your 3-quarter or 1-ton Cummins-powered truck. So if you're interested in turning your stock slush box into a towing monster, call us today at 614-733-3744 or visit us online at shop.firepunk.com.
It's coming. Crisp fall mornings turn bitter cold. As you fire up your diesel, you can see your breath on the inside of a cab. Imagine looking deep into your engine. Freezing temperatures impact your diesel's fluids, especially fuel. On a 23-degree morning, the paraffin wax in your untreated fuel starts to morph from fluid to large crystals. These crystals clump together and form a gel. At minus 10 degrees, your fuel hits the point where it no longer pours like a liquid. It's so dense that the flow through the fuel filter will slow, causing hard starts or no starts. Get prepared now for the cold that is coming. Hot Shot's Secret Diesel Winter Anti-Gel is a premium fuel additive that lowers your fuel's pour point to minus 65 degrees. If it's that cold out, you shouldn't be on the road. You ought to be at home in front of the fireplace. Hot Shot's Secret Diesel Winter Anti-Gel Premium Fuel Additive. Available now online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
Attention all truckers, Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I want to talk to you about those dreaded tax problems. I know you want to keep on trucking and not even think about them. Well, let's face it, they're not going away all on their own. You need professional help. I've been helping truckers put their tax problems in the rearview mirror for years. I can help you too. Call me for a free consultation at 888-632-4506 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com. It's like I always say, keep your eyes on the road, I'll keep mine on the IRS. 888-632-4506.
After a long winter road trip, there's nothing like coming home to a warm, comfortable home. Hi, I'm Steve with USA Insulation. When we put our foam in your walls, it's like putting a coat around your entire home. It keeps the cold air out and the warm air in. We're getting homes ready right now for winter, and we have $1,000 savings for everyone. But because we love our truckers, we're going to give you an additional $250 discount for mentioning the show. 1-800-USA-FOAM or USAinsulation.net.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
And now, back to the Steve Sommers Overnight Drive, live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios.
All right, get to some of our other industry headlines coming up here just ahead. Who else we got checking in? There's Ernie. Morning, Steve. 59 clear here in Wichita, Kansas. Headed down to Enos, Texas tonight. Hello to the 15 car on board. Morning, Steve. Great dirt track coverage last night. Clear, crisp 45 in Charlotte tonight. And there's Ken from Lower Slower, Delaware. Ken's on board. Said, I can't sleep. Got court in the morning. Rock pick. Happy hump day, Steve. The truckers out there, third shift workers, and all of our fellow insomniacs. We've got 37 degrees, a little rain mixed with snow. Feels like 27 here in Rochester, New York tonight. Everybody stay safe and enjoy. Good evening or good morning, wherever you may be. God's children, it's your old pal, Brother Rambler, checking in from the Crescent City. It's a very nice, comfortable 61 degrees, sending prayers out to Gilligan and Marianne as they made arrangements for their dearly departed son, Poncho, this past day. No parent should ever have to go through this. Sending prayers out to all of our friends and family of Gilligan and Marianne also. Let's keep praying for Pappy's daughter, Mercedes, for continued healing, and prayers for anyone else who's going through something tonight. Everybody take care. God bless. Happy Hump Day from Scooby here in the Derby tonight. There he is, Carolina Monkey Gouger in the house. Hello to the three-time champion. Oh, he's the three-time champion meat hauler. And shout out to Malibu Lauren. There you go. 007 checking in from Rochelle, Illinois at the Petros Stopping Center tonight. Let's see. Gerald says, Texas troopers going to have to lose a little weight or be restricted in their duty. Okay, what's going on? The GOT Truckers Act, GOT, which is Guaranteed Overtime for Truckers Act, seeking fair compensation for truck drivers. The Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association put out the call this past day. They want members to reach out to your respective lawmakers and ask them to support the bill. They issued what they call their call to action to their more than 150,000 members this past day. It was last week Representative Andy Levin of Michigan introduced H.R. 7517 to repeal the motor carrier overtime exemption in the Fair Labor Standards Act. Unbelievably, the Fair Labor Standards Act currently exempts truckers from its general requirements that employees are paid time and a half after 40 hours in a work week. OIDA says truckers want to be fairly compensated for all the hours they work, and H.R. 7570 would finally fix the FLSA to make this a reality. Yeah, this motor carrier overtime exemption's been in place since 1938. Levin's measure, which has 7 co-sponsors to date, would simply amend the Fair Labor Standards Act to remove that exemption. I think a lot of people feel it's absolutely necessary for justice and fairness and really for the industry to function properly, says Levin. Now, OIDA said the original design of the exemption that passed in the 1930s was intended to prevent truckers from working too many hours. The reality, the association says, is this outdated law simply prevents truckers from receiving fair compensation. Ask your representative to co-sponsor H.R. 7517, the Guaranteeing Overtime for Truckers Act, which would eliminate this exemption to help truckers get fairly compensated for all the time they work. Not only would this legislation provide overtime pay to company drivers, but it will help to lift compensation for truckers literally across the industry. Truckers who'd like to tell their lawmakers to support the GOT Truckers Act, you can learn how to do so by going to fightingfortruckers.com. That's the website. Fighting for Truckers, all one word, .com. The bill also is supported by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, the Institute for Safer Trucking, the Truck Safety Coalition, Citizens for Reliable and Safe Highways, and Parents Against Tired Truckers. This may be an absolute first for all those particular groups to be on the same page on any issue. I've never heard of them all being in agreement on anything. All right, it's 844-844-3388. What's going on with Horse Feathers? Hey there.
I guess we're supposed to do, hey, Mike. What day is it? What day is it?
Happy Hump Day. Here it is. Yeah, 20th day of April. Hump Day.
There you go. All right. So I had to report for my father there. He lives up in central upstate New York there, up in the Finger Lakes area. And he was saying that Syracuse actually didn't get hit too bad. You only had just a little bit, maybe some flurries and stuff. But you go a little further south on 81 down to Cortland, and they got pretty good amount. And as you said, down there towards Binghamton way there on 81, they got somewhere around a foot down there, I guess. So that puts that hole in that Vestal and all that area down there. And So, anyways, it sounds like they had a pretty fun day. But hey, they're upstate New York. They know what to do with that stuff. That's just another day of the week up there to them. So, but yeah, them power wires, they aren't anything to mess with there, because even though you don't know what type of wire's on the ground, you might just think it's a phone wire or whatever. But if a half mile up the road that there's a power wire against it there, it can energize that phone wire laying on the ground there. So you don't want to mess with any wires that are on the ground. Yeah, we learned that long time ago there in fire school. So, but anyways there, so I guess that's about all we got. Winds, storms all blowed away, and we got what's left of a full moon going away here by the looks of it, coming up. Pretty bright, about 38 degrees. So the breeze is just a little bit chilly this morning, but that makes everybody turn their furnace out.
Never did get to see
the furnace on.
Had the full pink moon over the weekend. We had nothing but cloud covers and never did get to see the full moon at all.
Yeah, we didn't either. But the only thing I can figure about that full moon is I know it must have been up, because that would have been Easter morning there. I think they were out there with all them tugboats and barges and that, trying to shove and pull that Never Forward back off its beach landing there in Chesapeake. And I think, we got talking about space and all that. And I think the moon there, they always say that, the tidal currents and everything are higher when the moon's at this full, full force there.
Yep.
So maybe having the moon there helps suck that boat out a little bit. But anyways, you talk about that beacon going out into space, and didn't we have that thing called Voyager go out into space? And you watched that Star Trek movie, we had that thing come back to us there. Wasn't Voyager looking for its maker? Didn't we run into problems just with our own equipment, let alone trying to find other people out there or other aliens or whatever? I mean, maybe we should just be careful what we send back out into space, because you never know what might be coming back at us there one way or another. Even our own equipment can turn on us there by the looks of it.
Hey, we've had more than one scenario of science fiction becoming reality. I mean, just look at all the stuff from out of Star Wars and Star Trek that is actual reality today. It was all science fiction when they originally made those.
I know it. So just imagine, we send some device out there, and it's supposed to go out there as being all nice and friendly and welcoming, and somehow or another it gets its wires crossed and it decides to turn itself around and decides that Earth's bad and comes back to us. What's going to happen then? I don't know. I guess we'll have to have smarter people in power to know what was that do with that, and maybe thank God that that our previous president, President Trump there, created the Space Force, because you never know. We might need the Space Force here. We might be doing Battlestar Galactica or something here at some point. But anyways, so I don't know. I guess with all that nonsense on a hump day, you should probably go out there and look for an intelligent caller and see if we can really get this show on the road here. What do you think?
Get the party started. That sounds like a plan. Well, happy hump day.
Very good. We'll catch you later.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, we'll be back into the Steve Sommers Overnight Drive.
Live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios, the Steve Sommers Overnight Drive.
You work hard. You deserve a seat that works just as hard as you do. The Bostrom T-Series seat has provided drivers with comfort for millions of miles over the past 3 decades. Each seat is built right here in the USA and has 4-position front cushion tilt and higher low-profile air suspension with isolator. It's also equipped with many standard and optional comfort features, such as high and mid backrests, 9.4-inch 4-aft slide adjustment, adjustable armrests, and manual or dual air lumbar support systems to keep you comfortable throughout your ride. Build your T-Series seat today at BostromSeating.com and ensure your ultimate comfort for wherever the road takes you. Bostrom Seating, the ultimate comfort for the open road.
After a long winter road trip, there's nothing like coming home to a warm, comfortable home. Hi, I'm Steve with USA Insulation. When we put our foam in your walls, it's like putting a coat around your entire home. It keeps the cold air out and the warm air in. We're getting homes ready right now for winter, and we have $1,000 savings for everyone. But because we love our truckers, we're going to give you an additional $250 discount for mentioning the show. 1-800-USA-FOAM or USAinsulation.net.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Because Channel 19's a little congested. Call Steve now at 844-844-3388. The Overnight Drive.
All right, back to your calls here on a Wednesday. Working our way into a Wednesday. I look up at the screen and there's a name I haven't seen in quite some time. How we been, Red Mule?
Good morning, Steve. Steve, I'm in my confusion this morning here, if you can help me out a little bit. Now, you just had a story, if I understood what you were saying, about the snow outages up there in New York. Now, did you not say that one of the counties up there, they had a list of people that required electricity for their life-saving equipment? They were checking up on them. Is that the way I understood that?
That's what I understood, yes, sir.
Now, Steve, wouldn't you say that that's just about the highest point or the epitome of civilization? You know, taking care of people that can't take care of themselves. I mean, you really... I can't imagine civilization getting much higher than that. Can you?
Well, I think it's a good thing, right? I mean, they at least they know who these people are that are relying on. They've got this, I guess maybe would it be dialysis or whatever kind of equipment to keep them alive?
Well, I'm just trying to figure how we can live in the same civilization that out in California they've got a guy that's probably going to end up going to prison for 10 years for, as I understood it on Fox Today, for murdering a pop delivery man. Now, how can we have two such extremes on our civilization? I don't understand that one bit.
Yeah.
Couple other things political-wise here. Now, maybe you've discussed this. When they had the list of people, the 51 people that put out the list saying that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, I looked that up the other day, and I believe that Leon Panetta was on that list. I used to think he was a stand-up guy, did a couple of things that I thought were questionable, but all said and done, I thought he was kind of, pretty decent individual. How on earth does a person ever get their credibility back after they do something like that? I don't see that he can. Do you, Steve?
No, and if I, remember William Barr, who I thought initially was, top-notch, upstanding guy, he refused to talk to Trump about the laptop.
Well, I'm with you on that 100%, Steve. I had William Barr on Gutfield here a while back, and I think he's trying to redeem himself. But, his comment was that, on the election, he said, there's no evidence of widespread election fraud. Well, there didn't have to be widespread election fraud. There only had to be just a little bit of election fraud. And he's another guy that I think's lost credibility that I don't see how he's ever going to get it back.
Yep.
But, a bunch of those guys in there, I wasn't surprised at, but I was a little surprised at Leon Panetta. Steve, on another subject we can discuss, I'm in construction here, on this show, I heard on one of the business channels today, and maybe you'd heard this, we've discussed in times past about the national debt and how much of it, come on, You know, when I drive that truck. We've discussed how much of the national debt is held by the Chinese. Now, if I understood what this guy was saying today, he said that the Japanese hold more of the national debt than the Chinese. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do not know the answer to that question off the top of my head. Sorry.
Well, maybe I misunderstood him, but he was saying he's trying to make some scenario for a doomsday situation where the Japanese would be raising their interest rates, and that was going to translate into horrific things for the whole rest of the world. And I don't know. I didn't quite follow his thought on that, but we discussed in the past that how much debt China had held, and I think at the time when we talked about it several years ago, the Japanese didn't hold that much, and so how they ended up having so much more, that was a new one on me. But anyhow, Steve, in the trucking industry, there's always an opportunity for a new thrill that a person never quite expects. Here about 3 weeks ago, I went down into L.A. to pick up a load and got in there. The load was supposed to pick up at noon, and I got in there about 5:30 in the morning, and somebody was coming out, and the gate was open, so I slipped in, found a place to park, and went in there and talked to the people, and they said, well, we don't start loading until 7 o'clock, but we'll go ahead and load you. So here I'm ecstatic about that, and they put me in a dock, and so they get me loaded up, Steve. Everything's cool, and get ready to go, and asked them, I said, y'all got a restroom restroom here for truck drivers? And he said, well, there's a couple of porta potties out there by the fence.
Yeah.
I said, oh, yeah. I saw those when I came in. I forgot about it. Wasn't ideal, but better than suffering. And so I went out there, and I went into the porta potty. And Steve, growing up on the farm, I've developed the ability to not have to use the toilet seat, if you know what I'm saying. And so I got in there and was fixing to do my business and heard this noise. And I said, oh, heck, that ain't what I think it is. And a couple seconds later, the whole porta potty starts to vibrate. And Steve, it was about 20 feet away from the main railroad track, and the train was going by at a high rate of speed. Now, you talk about getting a bleep scared out of you. You're sitting there thinking, man, I hope that thing don't derail in here. It's going to get ugly. So that's all I got for this morning, Steve.
All right. Good to hear from you, Red Mule. It's been a while. I guess you've enjoyed a little time off the road or something. All right, about 5 before the hour. You brought up the China debt. From the top stories from the Breitbart news desk this past day, I found it interesting as I was going through this, where it breaks down the numbers as far as trade and how much we are importing from China, which, of course, that also adds to what you call your trade deficits. Now, first of all, they're talking about the renewed lockdowns that have been taking place for nearly a month now in China, the COVID lockdowns. Forget the lockdowns. The Chinese regime has started to describe the state-imposed restrictions on movement and activity as putting communities under what they call static management. Apparently, the phrase lockdowns was causing people to panic, so China's decided to address public concerns in a very old-fashioned communist way by changing the language. No, you're not locked down. You're just being managed in a stasis. We expect that in rather short order, we will be able to start to see the effects of static management show up in global supply chains and the supply of goods here in the United States. Here are the numbers. The U.S. imported a jaw-dropping $90 billion worth of goods from China in the first 2 months of this year. That's a 20% increase over the first 2 months in 2019. In other words, our economy has become more dependent on imports from China. I mean, at a time when, again, going back to 2019, the very beginning of the pandemic, remember our discussions how we're going to have to wean ourselves from our dependence on China for so many things. In many cases, I mean, live or die, the drugs that we rely on. All right, when the pandemic first struck, imports from China plummeted by nearly 1/3, going from $33 billion in January to $22 billion in February. While trade is unlikely to plunge at that pace this time around, there will be shortages, they tell us. The production disruptions could last for weeks, which may reverberate throughout the global supply chain for months to come. Again, both components in U.S.-built goods and components in goods manufactured elsewhere around the world could become scarce once again. Some consumer goods may experience severe shortages. The upshot is likely to be more inflation for longer. Now, we are actually, they tell us, in a better position than many of our allies. Our exports to China make up only about 2% of U.S. GDP. So a fall in demand for goods in China wouldn't hurt us that much. Now, Germany and Korea, their export for manufactured goods are at an economically important scale. They may be in for the roughest time if these lockdowns continue for several more weeks. Meanwhile, Australia and Russia, which are major commodities exporters to China, could also be hurt. But $90 billion worth of goods imported in the first 2 months of the year. Way too much reliance on the Chinese. We get a news update. The Steve Sommers Overnight Drive, live from the Hotshot Secret Studios.
USA Radio News.
If you request an Uber or Lyft, you won't need your mask. Reporter Lance Pry explains.
A federal judge in Florida on Monday removed the government's mask mandate, saying it was an overreach. Public transportation riders will no longer be forced to wear masks while traveling. Not to be outdone, the mask mandate at Uber and Lyft ride-sharing dropped their mask requirements for U.S. passengers and drivers on Tuesday.
A Michigan judge has denied the motion to reduce bond for James and Jennifer Crumbley. The parents of the suspected Oxford High School shooter will remain in jail on a $500,000 bond each. Prosecutors are accusing the Crumbleys of neglecting their son and ignoring warning signs of his disturbing behavior. Their son, who turns 16 next week, has been charged as an adult with 24 crimes, including murder. This is USA Radio News.
Hey everyone, this is Mike.
And this is Brian with Fellowship Home Loans. For years now, we've helped thousands of families live the dream of home ownership. And it's always great to hear from them.
How willing they were to work with me, where everybody else just wanted to slam the door in my face. Second thing was just how quick and easy it was to go with Fellowship, because they really put it together quick for me.
At Fellowship Home Loans, we don't have clients. We have friends and family.
I recommend many people. I have my cousin, I have a friend of work, I have there's a lot of people who really need someone like Fellowship Home Loans.
We are here to help. No pressure guaranteed. 800-535-2779. 800-535-2779.
I appreciate how quick and easy it was to work with Fellowship Home Loans. What a pleasant experience it was. They really put it together quick for me.
Fellowship Home Loans.
Welcome home.
Intercontinental Capital Group, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender, MLS number 60134.
A Wisconsin senator is laying record-high inflation and the southern border crisis solely at President Joe Biden's feet. Senator Ron Johnson explained his reasoning to Newsmax.
What did Joe Biden do when he came into office? He declared the war on fossil fuel. He canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. That increases not only the price of gasoline, but the price of energy in general. Energy is a cost component of everything else you buy, basically. So that helps increase the cost of every good. That drives up inflation. Then, of course, you go on a spending spree, printing too many dollars, chasing too few goods. So I call that the triple whammy. A war on fossil fuel, too many dollars chasing too few goods, and policies that are making sure that we have even fewer goods.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is hitting Disney where it hurts. DeSantis said Tuesday the state legislature would take up a bill this week that would dismantle the special district that's allowed Disney to act as its own local government. You're listening to USA Radio News.
The MyPillow.com clearance continues. Roll and go anywhere. MyPillow's $9.99. The Body Pillow $39.99. And MyPillow bath sheets on sale 50% off. Use my promo code USA. Go to MyPillow.com/radio specials. You'll also get a free copy of Mike Lindell's book. MyPillow.com/radio specials. Use promo code USA or 1-800-951-8175.
The Pentagon is being pressed about its assistance strategy in Ukraine.
As Russia's unprovoked war in Ukraine continues, Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby at a briefing Tuesday is asked why the United States is providing aid to Ukraine in slices rather than giving them everything they need that the United States could have provided months ago.
If we were to, let's just say that we followed the alternative logic, and at the very beginning of the invasion, we just said, here's everything in the shoebox. Let's just send it over there. Well, what if everything in the shoebox doesn't fit the fight that they're in? So you tailor each package based on the fight that they're in and what's going on at the time.
From the USA Radio News Phoenix Bureau, I'm Tim Berg.
As the U.S. Postal Service continues to roll out its 10-year Delivering for America plan, the latest change involves first-class package service. Starting May 1st, an estimated 17% of 3-day first-class packages will be shifted to 4-day service, while 15% of 4-day packages will be moved to 5-day service. 10 Republicans have filed petitions to run for Michigan's governor by Tuesday's deadline. It creates a huge field for a primary electorate that will decide who challenges Democrat Gretchen Whitmer. Michigan's primary election is August 2nd. For USA Radio News, I'm Katie Lewis.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
stiction.
Found throughout the oil system, stiction is the sticky friction that negatively impacts your engine's ability to function at an optimal level. The molecular structure of oil is a hydrocarbon. The engine's extreme heat, tight tolerances, and high pressure cause the oil to break down and release hydrogen, leaving behind varnish, a carbon-based deposit. The varnish clings to the engine's moving parts, creating drag on the turbocharger, oil pump, and pistons. Symptoms of stiction include a rough idle and the loss of fuel economy and performance. Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator delivers a 98% clean rating in third-party scrub tests. Its synthetic cleaner plus nano lubricant contains no harmful solvents and is formulated to be left in the engine to safely dissolve stiction for thousands of miles. It works as you drive.
Stiction Eliminator is available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com.
Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Wednesday, hump day coming on. All right, Buckeye boys said Braves win. Steve says Reds lose. Again. What's the final score? 6-2 Padres over the Reds. Oh, it's going to be a long, long season for Reds fans. Obviously, that translates to much lower attendance. Fewer people showing up at the ballpark. I don't know. Could it possibly get as bad? Trying to scroll back up, see if I can find the number. The attendance numbers this past evening for the Oakland A's game. It's like less than 4,000. Yeah, 3,000, I believe 600 and something was the official announced attendance for the A's. Wow. That's bad. Meanwhile, it's 844-844-3388. This is the hour number 2. We'll have a keyword coming your way for our $1,000 daily driver bonus. Compliments of Hotshot Secret and TNC Radio.live. There's the number, 3,748. The announced attendance at the Oakland A's game this past evening. That is brutal. Okay, let's get back to the calls this morning. Eagle got you coming up just ahead. First to Wally. Morning, Wally. How's things going?
Hey, I'm okay, man. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I want to talk about baseball and how come nobody's showing up. I just think it's just got to do with the dang ticket prices myself, you know.
Okay.
And not only that, there's no baseball on TV unless you pay for it. So you can't even sit down with your son or any your brother-in-law or anybody else to watch baseball unless you pay for it, because my brother-in-law don't like baseball. And it is, so I can't even, you know, so that's my point on that. You can't get nothing going on there. Okay. You know, it ain't like when we was kids, we could watch the Reds, because I'm from Indianapolis originally, and we could sit down and watch the Reds or any baseball game on a Saturday or Sunday, you know, and now you can't find anything unless you got cable and all that, and I ain't messing around with cable.
Yep.
So, you know, but you can't, even if you got cable now, you got to buy the MLB package, MLB or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, package or whatever, and I'm just not going to spend that kind of money. You know, and so there ain't no fans in baseball anymore. You know, because they're not creating any fans because they're not out in the public anymore. You know, they're not out in the public. You know, okay, what I originally called about was just talking about the wages, overtime pay for. I can understand overtime pay for somebody who's driving for a company. Okay, who actually works for the company. He's actually getting paid by the hour, not by the mile. The problem here is the individual contractor, owner operator can't charge for time that he's not for time.
Right.
Because he's getting paid by the mile. Now, if he was being paid by the mile, and I am sure that if he wanted to swap out and charge and pay himself by the hour, he could do it out of his wages that he got out of the mileage. But he wouldn't be making near as much money. He might save some money on taxes, you know, because now he's an hourly employee driving for miles. You know, and how many miles you can drive in an hour, but you're still going to lose anyway, because you're not paid to sit in a loading dock. That's my problem. I don't see how they're going to be able to get this straightened out, and I just think they're opening up another hornet's nest. We're trying to get that changed. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I mean, I understand when it comes to the, say, company drivers, if I'm understanding, I mean, the hours that you're setting, I mean, many of the company drivers get paid by the mile as well, but if they're setting 3 hours to load and then they spend 2 more hours to unload, yeah, the hours in a given week add up 50, 60, close to 70 in some cases. So how they break that down, if you're paid by the mile, then I guess they're going to have to compensate for all those hours that you spend setting?
Yeah, but what they really need to do is up the mileage and let it go and say, we're going to pay you X amount of this for the mileage, and we'll pay you X amount of this for time. And hope like hell it'll adjust out evenly.
Right.
But that's the only way you can do it. They're going to have to give you, 2 hours on the front end, 2 hours on the back end, so that's 4 hours. Now, you might sit somewhere for 6 hours, but at least you're getting something. That's all I can tell you.
Right.
But that's something the drivers and the companies got to work at. Dispatchers and all that stuff's got to work out, because that's the only way that's going to get resolved. And nobody's going to pick up that wagon.
So how about when you've got your driving hours? Paid by the mile, but once you're in excess of 40 hours, say driving time, are you going to get? Just using a round figure, if you're making 50 cents per mile, are they going to now give you 75 cents per mile? And once you exceed the 40 hours, is that the way it's going to work?
No, because I don't know. I see that's the problem. And if you just say $1, so now you went from whatever to 75, so time and a half.
Right, time and a half.
I don't. Yeah, so. We're going to pay. They're not going to do that because you got a 14-hour day already. Now, whether they pay you that 14 on an hourly pay or on the mileage, and they figure that mileage is in there. I don't know how you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm curious myself. Be interesting to get a better breakdown from. That's the kind of thing you'd have to go to the legal eagles at OOIDA or something of that nature to explain it to us. But all right, student loans. I actually had copied the message our friend the Grump had posted this past day. Then I come in to do my show prep this evening, and lo and behold, we forgave 40,000 student loans entirely this past day. And we're providing aid to like 3.6 million more. According to the report, the Department of Education has canceled student loan debt for 40,000 people, and they're offering now credits to help another 3.6 million pay off their loans under the plan announced this past day. According to the Education Secretary, student loans were never meant to be a life sentence. But it certainly felt that way for borrowers locked out of debt relief that they're eligible for. Now, here's another step taken by the administration on top of the pause on nearly all student loan collection, which has been ongoing and extended. But stopping short of the demands from the far left in the Democrat Party for pretty much almost absolute student loan forgiveness. Now, when he was on the campaign trail, Biden called for canceling $10,000 in student loan debt for every borrower, which would translate to a commitment of more than $400 billion. Then since being elected, they've said, Congress is going to have to take action if we want more student loan relief. We're looking at historical failures to communicate to borrowers all the benefits they're eligible for in federal student loan programs. Either way, this past day, at least 40,000 received immediate debt cancellation under the program announced. Several thousand borrowers with older loans will also receive forgiveness through income-driven repayment forgiveness. Then you've got another 3.6 million borrowers that are going to receive at least 3 years of additional credit toward IDR forgiveness. According to the statement, those programs cap the amount that lower-income borrowers are required to pay and then forgive the remaining balance after a set number of years. Student loan debt is a drag on the economy, burdening young professionals for years after graduation, while the wide availability of loans has contributed to rising tuition costs. Here are the numbers. Some 43.4 million borrowers right now are carrying about $1.6 trillion, with a T, trillion dollars in outstanding student loans from the federal loan portfolio, an average of more than $37,000 each. Now, the grump, as he always says, just my opinion. Why would this moronic president cancel student debt? Only reason I can think of is to get a bunch of freeloading young people off their sorry ass into the polls. The Democrats have several warped economic reasons for canceling student loans, but in reality, it's nothing but word salad to distract from its true purpose of buying votes. The whiny benefactors of this loans for votes scheme honestly believe their future contributions to society will be so great that paying back their student loan debt is actually insulting to them. Actually, their laziness and entitlement beliefs are what's insulting to everyone that would have to pick up the tab for their free ride. Then you have the squad, these idiots, hopping up and down saying, canceling student loans is racial justice. To Ayanna Pressley, the worthless biatch who made the comment, she's another race-baiting Wokian, masquerading as a congressional member, and she sees everything as some kind of pathetic conspiracy against people of color, excluding the color white, of course. Now, he says, I'm not totally opposed to school debt forgiveness. If that student is going to school to be a policeman, nurse, a special needs teacher, or some other first responder, to include military service, now, I have no problem with some sort of reduced or forgiven tuition, but only after completion of several years in the first responder field they've selected. For all the rest, screw you. You're going to college to help yourself, not others. So pay up, shut up, and be thankful you live in a country that isn't cutting your pathetic head off for your stupid political and social views. Yeah, because that kind of happens in other countries. Thank you, Grump. Just my opinion. We all have opinions. But there you go. And it's 844-844-3388. Back into the Steve Sommers Overnight Drive live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios.
Live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios, the Steve Sommers Overnight Drive.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. Are you one of those truck drivers that came home after a long haul and found the only thing waiting for you was a stack of IRS letters? Your significant other was gone, but your newfound IRS problem is still there. I've heard this story many times over the years. While I can't help you with your broken heart, I can fix your tax problems. If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed for many years, call me for a free consultation at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com. Like I always say, you keep your eyes on the road, I'll keep mine on the IRS.
145 over 92.
180 over 111. I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest and then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
stiction.
Found throughout the oil system, stiction is the sticky friction that negatively impacts your engine's ability to function at an optimal level. The molecular structure of oil is a hydrocarbon. The engine's extreme heat, tight tolerances, and high pressure cause the oil to break down and release hydrogen, leaving behind varnish, a carbon-based deposit. The varnish clings to the engine's moving parts, creating drag on the turbocharger, oil pump, and pistons. Symptoms of stiction include a rough idle and the loss of fuel economy and performance. Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator delivers a 98% clean rating in third-party scrub tests. Its synthetic cleaner plus nano lubricant contains no harmful solvents and is formulated to be left in the engine to safely dissolve stiction for thousands of miles. It works as you drive.
Stiction Eliminator is available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret.
Powered by science. Because Channel 19's a little congested. Call Steve now at 844-844-3388. The Overnight Drive.
So I got an email from Deranger who says, in regards to the how you going to do this overtime pay for truck drivers? He said, Steve, I see mileage pay going away. Your mileage pay will be calculated as if a driver was sitting. They'd get paid the same where driving or sitting routes would be paid on how many hours it'll take to run the load. Yes, owner-operators will be higher end after 40, I guess. Overtime will be paid out like hourly people. In most cases, drivers will have set routes. Some will run over 40. Some will have a day work week. That's the way I see it unfolding. It is all kind of confusing to me, but again, it's something, it's all new to us, how this is going to break down. I think we're all asking some of the same kind of questions. Hey, good morning, Eagle. What's happening this hump day?
Yeah, okay. Before I get to the border situation, Steve, and in Texas and other areas, I want to say something about this China coronavirus situation right quick, about the stupidity of these people. But then again, like I heard somebody else say, maybe it's not stupidity. Maybe it's done on purpose. You know, I looked at some of the stats over the past couple of days, Steve. The Chinese government say that locking down the city and locking people in their homes and refusing to let people go onto the streets of Shanghai is gonna kill off the coronavirus. That's where they're wrong. They've said already, when you put a group of people, lock them in homes and houses, crowded in together, that only makes the virus spread. You know, like I said before, the Chinese people, they claim that they're some of the most smartest people in the world, but that's a dumb move. But then again, like I said before, maybe it's not a dumb move after all. Maybe it's what you call population control. Maybe they want to kill off some people. Maybe it's being done on purpose because it makes no sense to lock down a whole city and the virus is still spreading and not vaccinating people like other countries around the world. The Chinese government is not trying to vaccinate these people. Seems to me like they have another agenda at hand when you lock down the city like that. So anybody that's thinking about going to China, maybe you better think about that before you board a plane to China. Now, let me say this right quick, Steve. And by the way, that won't work in the United States of America. The Chinese, let me say one quick. The Chinese people are already brainwashed that they have to do what the government tells them to do. Won't happen in the United States. They will never be able to lock down the whole United States such as they've done in China. I've heard people say that the same thing can happen in the U.S. Never will never happen in the U.S. Promise you that. People will not stay in their homes, so they better figure out something else. Now, let me move on to the border situation, Steve. We're in a very critical situation right now. In less than a matter of weeks, Title 42 expires, which means that we no longer have a southern border, United States of America. And, you would think, Steve, I'm saying if we had a president that actually cared about the United States of America, you would think that Joe Biden would be on the first airplane. On Air Force One, getting down to Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, any other border towns, just to see what the hell is going on, to see if maybe it's not a good idea after all to let this Title 42 expire. But notice I said if we had a president that cared about the United States. He doesn't care about the U.S. and he doesn't care about the people that are going to be coming in, Steve. I just told you last night, John Hannity updated the number again. Just in the past, from January until now, the United States Border Patrol has captured over 40 international terrorists at the southern border of the USA, trying to make their way into the U.S. And they're not, by the way, they're not coming to the U.S. to sightsee either, just in case people didn't know that. They're not coming to the U.S. to go to Disneyland. So, but apparently Joe Biden doesn't see it that way. And like I told you last night, Steve, it's just a matter of time before something real bad happens in the USA. And it's going to make like I told you last night, it's going to make 9/11 look like a Christmas party. And here's the sad part about it, Steve. It all could have been avoided. That's the bad part. Right now, as much as I hate to say this about Joe Biden, because you very rarely hear me give a man any credit for anything. Whether it's him doing it or not, I don't know. Right now, they do have the coronavirus neutralized. The hospitals are not full. People are not getting sick. Whether it's Joe Biden doing it, I don't know. But I will give them credit for that. But here's the problem. When Joe Biden opens up that border in a couple of weeks, all he's doing is opening that virus right back up to come into the USA, because they've already reported that people from these nations are carrying the deadly coronavirus. And all he's going to do is reopen a can of worms, and we're going to be right back where we started about a year or two ago. And like I said again, it all could have been avoided. There's no reason for Joe Biden to let this expire, Steve, this Title 42. No reason whatsoever. It's just to spite Donald Trump. Everything that Trump has done, Biden wanted to change around of the people that work for him just because they didn't like Trump. But it's backfiring in their face, and it's backfired in the American people's face. Everything that Donald Trump did, because everything Donald Trump did was good for America. And it seems like Joe Biden is going out of his way to change it around to make it worse. And it's a damn shame what's happening in America.
Right.
And
and right there, I got to get to my news break here. We hit the bottom of the hour, but we'll pick up there right after this as we roll into a Wednesday. It is the Steve Sommers Overnight Drive live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios.
USA Radio News.
The Cleveland Browns are under investigation for potentially rigging games. Lance Pry reports.
Sports Illustrated is reporting the National Football League is investigating the Cleveland Browns for allegedly throwing games that took place during the 2016 and 2017 seasons. Former chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mary Jo White, is leading the investigation. Ms. White is also in charge of investigating Brian Flores' claims that he was offered $100,000 per loss from Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross during the 2019 season.
The Biden administration is launching a $6 billion effort to save nuclear power plants at risk of closing. A certification and bidding process opened Tuesday for a civil nuclear credit program that's intended to bail out financially distressed owners or operators of nuclear power reactors. This is USA Radio News.
There's a price war in the insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call the Term Lifeline right now and see if you can save 40%. $500,000 plans and up, that's our specialty. Even great smokers' rates. Protect your family today. Call the Term Lifeline right now for a free quote. 866-549-TERM, 866-549-TERM, 866-549-TERM.
You're listening to the Overnight Drive with Steve Sommers.
Do you have a Dodge pickup and hate your automatic transmission? Of course you do. Levon Miller at Firepunk Diesel here, and we specialize in heavy-duty and performance transmissions for your 3/4 or 1-ton Cummins-powered truck. So if you're interested in turning your stock slush box into a towing monster, call us today at 614-733-3744 or visit us online at shop.firepunk.com.
After a long winter road trip, there's nothing like coming home to a warm, comfortable home. Hi, I'm Steve with USA Insulation. We appreciate our truckers and the long hours you're putting in to serve us all. Without you, we wouldn't even get the materials to insulate. So we want you to feel like a king when you get back. We put our foam in your walls. It's like putting a coat around your entire home. Keeps the cold air out and the warm air in. And with the rising energy costs, that's going to save you a bundle. We're getting homes ready for winter right now, and we have $1,000 of savings for everyone. But because we love our truckers, we're going to give you an additional $250 discount just for mentioning this show. So give us a call, 1-800-USA-FOAM. That's 1-800-USA-FOAM or usainsulation.net. We're going to give you an additional $250 discount for mentioning the show. 1-800-USA-FOAM or usainsulation.net.
USA Insulation.
It's coming. Crisp fall mornings turn bitter cold. You climb into your diesel and it feels like you're sitting on an ice cube. Imagine how your engine feels after a frosty night. Freezing temperatures impact your diesel's fluids, especially fuel. As the temperatures drop, water that is emulsified within your fuel is released, adding more water into your system. Frozen water in your fuel lines, filter, or bowl will simply slow the flow, or worse, stop the flow of fuel in your system. No fuel flow, no start. Get prepared now for the cold that is coming. Hot Shot's Secret Diesel Winter Anti-Gel is a premium fuel additive that lowers your fuel's pour point to minus 65 degrees. If it's that cold out, you shouldn't be on the road. You ought to be at home in front of the fireplace. Hot Shot's Secret Diesel Winter Anti-Gel Premium Fuel Additive. Available now online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years, I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that we can give our daughters everything they need to grow and learn. But not every child can focus on classes and play dates.
Nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. face hunger. That's 1 in 6. School lunch might be their only meal each day, and it's heartbreaking to imagine any child going to bed hungry. We're dreaming of a perfect day when kids can smile, play, and just be kids without worrying about where their next meal will come from. Feeding America is working to make that perfect day a reality.
Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. That food is given to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about doing things that make an ordinary day extraordinary. Learning to play an instrument, building a sandcastle, hosting tea parties. Hunger should never be an obstacle to growing up.
You can help end childhood hunger in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We know you'd like to be cuddled up real tight with a sweet little thing all night.
But instead, you've got Steve Summers. It's the Overnight Drive.
A motorsport approaches the century mark. From dead weight, first a small step and then a great leap forward. And what is tractor pulling anyway? From National Tractor Pullers Association headquarters in Columbus, Ohio, this is the NTPA Overnight Radio Report. Tractor pulling is a sport that has been around in one form or another for close to 100 years, as the first documented contests took place in Missouri and Ohio in 1929. Even when steam and oil-powered traction farm machines were in their infancy, farmers of the era competed against each other to determine whose tractor was the most powerful. From primitive drawbar to drawbar tugs of war, the contests evolved into deadweight pulling competitions over short spans, much like team horse pulls, and these continue to be held by many antique and stock pulling clubs to the present day. Even though the metric to decide a winner has always been distance, the desire for a spectator-friendly exhibition meant that speed would necessarily become involved. So pulls were soon conducted on long, straight tracks, along which each tractor would, one at a time, pull a flat sled. Participants, positioned along both sides of the track, would step on as the sled skidded past. These Western-style competitions began to draw serious fan interest and also led to a ramping up of horsepower and velocity from what were initially stock tractors. As tractors cemented their place on the farm, aftermarket industries developed that allowed farmers to get power far in excess of their tractor's factory rating, and these rebuild kits naturally made their way into pulling competitions. Soon, the velocities were too great to safely continue with the human ballast step-on sleds, and that ushered in the era of the mechanical weight transfer, beginning in the mid-1960s. Designs varied, but a common principle was the shifting of a propelled weighted box from atop an axle to atop a flat pan, in the process converting rolling, mostly frictionless weight, to dragging frictional weight. These versatile machines allowed even the smallest or lightest tractors to start the load and simultaneously stopped even the largest or heaviest tractors within a few hundred feet of track. With both the safety and consistency of the contests now established, vehicles began to be adapted or constructed specifically to compete, and the sport of tractor pulling really took off with nationally advertised events. The first national tractor pull was conducted at the Wood County Fairgrounds in Bowling Green, Ohio in August of 1967. While in Bowling Green, pullers decided that they should have a wintertime event, and thus was born the National Farm Machinery Show Championship Tractor Pull in Louisville, Kentucky in February 1969. And while in Louisville, competitors met to decide on a national set of rules and began to organize a governing structure. So arrived the National Tractor Pullers Association with 10 charter member states and an office in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. All three of these entities remain in existence in furtherance of the motorsport of tractor and later truck pulling, but none of their founders could have imagined how the sport would develop and diversify over the next 50 years. Next time, we'll take a brief look at the types of vehicles you're likely to see at an NTPA event. Between now and then, check out our schedule page at ntpapull.com to find out where you can witness these awesome machines yourself. As we're fond of saying at NTPA, you really can hear the power and feel the noise. Reporting for the NTPA on the Overnight Drive, I'm John Dunlap. Stay safe and pull hard.
All right, what do you say? Is it that time? How about a chance to win $1,000 cash and a shot at the $10,000 grand prize? Here's this hour's keyword in the $1,000 Daily Driver Bonus Contest. Here we go. Let me see. Wednesday, April the 20th. Oh, yeah, 420. Ha! 420. This hour's keyword is bake. Like baked goods. B-A-K-E. Bake is the keyword. Go to tncradio.live on the web or the tncradio.live app on your smartphone. Enter that keyword. And good luck from Hot Shot Secret and tncradio.live. Bake. All right, the numbers are astounding. I mean, here we are, as Eagle just mentioned, a matter of weeks away from the expiration of Title 42. And in case you missed it this past day, the Biden administration, I guess the fact that they're actually taking heat even from some Democrats, saying this ain't going to be good. The mess that we have as it is, once Title 42 expires. Yeah, you think it's bad now. We set another record in the month of March. According to the court documents that were filed this past Friday, in the federal lawsuit between Texas and Missouri against the administration of President Biden, Customs and Border Protection agents, they say they encountered more than 221,000 illegals in the month of March. For the month of March 2022, 221,303 total encounters at the southwest border. This figure combines statistics reported by the Customs and Border Protection Office of Field Operations, which deals with non-citizens seeking to enter at land ports of entry, with statistics from the Border Patrol, which apprehends non-citizens seeking to enter between those points of entry. This is a court-mandated monthly report, which is a part of this lawsuit. This is the highest for that month of March since March of 2000, 22 years ago, when 220,063 were encountered at the southwest border. It is 7 times higher than the number in the month of March for the year 2020. You know, just a few months after this new administration took control. Now, you will also mention the number of, bad characters. If you're on the terrorism watch list, yeah, they all know, hey, if we want to get into the U.S. so we can plot and plan our next terroristic attack on this country, easiest way to go is just waltz across the southern border. I don't have the numbers for this year, but Eagle said, I guess, Hannity updated this past evening, something like 40 this year already. But the Border Patrol actually arrested 23 people on the terror list in 2021. Between January 20 and December 27th of last year, there were 23 encounters with individuals whose names matched the terrorist screening database. 4 in the Rio Grande Valley sector, the same in the Del Rio sector, 3 in El Paso, 2 in Tucson, 2 in Yuma, 4 in El Centro, 4 in the San Diego sector. Now, this provided in response to a Freedom of Information Act request. The terrorism screening database contains information about the identities of those who are known or reasonably suspected of being involved in terrorist activities. Republican lawmakers have repeatedly called for the number of those encountered at the border to be made public by the administration. But Joe Biden actually ousted Rodney Scott as the Border Patrol chief in the spring of last year. That guy served over 30 years in the role. In October of last year, Scott spoke to Fox News. He said that, yes, terrorists are trying to cross the border. We have terrorist threats. Now, we can't get in this type of a forum, but they're real. They exist. They want to come across the border. Statistically, it's always includes rapists, murderers, potential terrorists every single year. If you look at the Customs and Border Protection statistics that are publicly available, those all exist. In who we actually catch, though, to think there's not just as bad or worse people that are getting away without being caught would be naive. Now, after Scott was ousted, some in the media noticed the Border Patrol quietly deleting announcements about terrorists being apprehended at the border, releasing a press release in April of last year detailing the arrest of 2 men on the FBI's terrorism watch list and no-fly zone, but the Border Patrol deleted the press release. They said it wasn't properly reviewed and contained some disclosure and policy information related to national security. So we had to remove it from the website. Then in December, the Yuma sector chief, Patrol Agent Chris Clem, deleted a tweet after agents apprehended a potential terrorist who illegally entered the U.S. from Mexico. Clem had written the 21-year-old Saudi Arabian man had links to several Yemeni subjects of interest. But the CBP deleted the tweet because it had, quote, law enforcement sensitive information. They just don't want the public to know. All right, back to your calls at 844-844-3388. What do you say, Chevy Guy? What's going on?
Oh, too much when I get started. That's why I make everybody mad. That's what I say. But oh my goodness, just being put on hold just so much come across the table and have to comment on. Eagles is hitting on all 12 cylinders there. Now, Biden's been doing some good things here lately. Opening up oil, leases, and open up lands. I know it's really crippling the way he's doing it, but, it's a bragging rights. Some of the money that what is interesting he's going to support to help save our nuclear power plants. That's good. There's also, I believe on the news last night I was listening that on some of this government funding, it's a requirement that all like steel and all the materials used has to be used and bought for U.S.
Correct.
Steel manufacturers.
Yep.
So he's doing a lot of good things, i.e., and here's why. 33% approval rating. His fellow Democrats are desperate because they've got 8 months to repair what he has done in a year and 4. So he's doing good because he's done so much bad. And basically what he's doing is declaring that Trump was right. The things Trump was doing, he's moving everything back in that direction. And that's how come you're hearing environmentals. I believe you reported it last night. Environmentalists getting all upset because we're all going to die because of burning gas. Let alone we've got planets out in space are heating up. So obviously it isn't my diesel engine doing that. So,
right.
But here's the big thing about the black community. Al Sharpton, when he gets up and saying, this administration is not doing anything for my black community. Okay, now I'm assuming, because knowing Al Sharpton over these years, we ain't getting no jack in our neighborhood. Money. And it's not, they're looking at these, 2 million illegals coming across the border. They're shipping them out, buses, got the money for buses, plane fare. You got, they're broke. So what, are they handing over some money so they can eat while they're here, while they're going to get to where they're going? They're seeing money being spent left and right on non-citizens coming in. And mind you, these are citizens that whenever you go talk about your social issues, repayment for sins of the past, all these people are going to look at them like, ain't got nothing to do with me.
No.
They'll resist their social issues. So this stuff is blowing up in Biden's face. So we're going to see him doing something positive, but it's only going to be positive for him. Their social issues, they're still going to point. And I still think when he said it, the truth come out of his mouth when he first got elected. And a reporter asked, "Are you afraid of Donald Trump running for president again?" And Biden looked at that reporter and says, "I don't even know if there will be a Republican Party then." So this election coming, and this mail-in ballot. Now, Georgia, you have to go and get a absentee ballot. You have to show an ID. You have to put IDs down. So Georgia, they're fighting that Georgia law like crazy, but they're going to put an end to just getting something mailed to people's houses. But that's the battle right now, is for the legitimacy of our elections. But if the Democrats get away with what they're wanting to do, there won't be any more Republicans elected, and the Republican Party will go extinct. So we are in an amazing time right now. Now, going back to the reason why I called, he said, Horstedter said something about I think it was in the 70s, they sent this satellite out to, and I hear that it crossed over and out of our universe. Well, and you got a picture on there, a naked picture of a man and a woman. Well, what if that satellite makes it to a planet out there, and it's got like 3 million males to 1 woman ratio, and they have the ability to come here? I think they should have put a picture of Rosie O'Donnell on that satellite to ensure that to make the trip not worth traveling over, okay? And obvious, like I've said, they may have higher technology than we do in an advanced race, but when they get here, proof has shown they don't drive any better than we do because of all the crashes. So other than that, we're going to sit back and copy the mail. Prayer for Gilligan and Mary Ann. It's a great sadness, even on the phone we're talking. It's hard to cut up and joke when a family member is suffering like that. And it's the greatest fear of us all, having to deal with that with one of our babies. And praise God for Happy and his daughter, and the advancement that's done in our technology to bring her back like that, and also the young man that was riding with her. Other than that, we're going to sit back and cover the mail. We're going to enjoy the ride.
Thank you, Chevy Guy. Have a good morning. Hey, we'll be back in 2 here. The Steve Summers Overnight Drive, live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios.
You're listening to the Overnight Drive with Steve Summers.
It's coming. Crisp fall mornings turn bitter cold. As you fire up your diesel, you can see your breath on the inside of the cab. Imagine looking deep into your engine. Freezing temperatures impact your diesel's fluids, especially fuel. On a 23-degree morning, the paraffin wax in your untreated fuel starts to morph from fluid to large crystals. These crystals clump together and form a gel. At minus 10 degrees, your fuel hits the point where it no longer pours like a liquid. It's so dense that the flow through the fuel filter will slow, causing hard starts or no starts. Get prepared now for the cold that is coming. Hot Shot Secret Diesel Winter Anti-Gel is a premium fuel additive that lowers your fuel's pour point to minus 65 degrees. If it's that cold out, you shouldn't be on the road. You ought to be at home in front of the fireplace. Hot Shot Secret Diesel Winter Anti-Gel Premium Fuel Additive. Available now online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
Do you have a Dodge pickup and hate your automatic transmission? Of course you do. Levon Miller at Firepunk Diesel here, and we specialize in heavy-duty and performance transmissions for your 3-quarter or 1-ton Cummins-powered truck. So if you're interested in turning your stock slush box into a towing monster, call us today at 614-733-3744 or visit us online at shop.firepunk.com.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear. Because for years, he's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say. Like if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
And now, back to the Steve Summers Overnight Drive, live from the Hot Shot Secret Studios.
Well, if you're caught in the backup along I-80 eastbound in Illinois this past day, Joliet, Illinois, that was due to a cattle truck that was involved in a crash with a couple of other vehicles. About 8 cows escaped the hauler, and they were just kind of standing around on the expressway there. Now, they do say Skycam 9 was overhead. Looks like there were several cows deceased at the scene. The animal control assisted in recovering the cattle off the expressway. They do say the driver of the cattle hauler was transported to a local hospital with life-threatening injuries. Extensive damage to the front and the side of the truck. No other injuries reported. It wasn't until about 9:30 this past evening when the eastbound lanes were reopened. This all started before 4 o'clock this past afternoon. Police did not give an update if all the cows were recovered. Okay, so there's your update. Meanwhile, it's 844-844-3388. Is this Steve?
Hey, Steve, this is Mike.
Oh, Mike.
First-time caller, man. I love your show.
Hey, hello, Mike. How we doing?
I'm doing good. I love your show, listening to it. Boy, I got a lot of opinions on everything everybody said, but, yeah, Biden's got to go, man. We're in a bad mess everywhere. I'm a vet, older now, of course. This administration, is, like the guy said, exactly, is just trying to get rid of us, conservative, Republicans, whatever. I heard you saying stuff about China earlier, and, I have a friend that works at Ford, and he was saying that they're in a bad way over this. They're actually doing layoffs, and probably ain't no news to nobody, but he did say that they are making factories to produce our own chips and stuff over here, but they're like 2 years out of construction.
Sure. It takes a long time. You can't do it overnight, but they better be getting on that. When the shish kebab hits the fan with Taiwan, you think there's a shortage of chips right now. Yeah, we won't be able to make anything.
Yeah, Steve, it's a bad way right now. They let Putin go way too far, and this occupier of the White House, he ain't. In my opinion, he's not the one calling the shots. Anyhow,
no.
It's the other one, Obama. To me, I'm sorry. I think he's calling all the shots, and that's my opinion. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I was honored to get on here, and I love your show, like I said. My dad just listened to Bozo. I guess was your father, and you're carrying on the legend well, I guess. Love your show, Steve, and I'll be back on there when I have something to say.
Well, have you?
Me to talk.
Hey, you're a first time caller, Mike. We got to get you a code. So I got your number here, and we will get you a coupon code for $60 worth of Hot Shot Secret merchandise. Just watch your text messages in the coming days. All righty, and we'll be back after a news break. The Steve Summers Overnight Drive.
USA Radio News.
If you request an Uber or Lyft, you won't need your mask. Reporter Lance Pry explains.
A federal judge in Florida on Monday removed the government's mask mandate, saying it was an overreach. Public transportation riders will no longer be forced to wear masks while traveling. Not to be outdone, the mask mandate at Uber and Lyft ride-sharing dropped